So Joe Biden made a big gaffe. If you're a shit lib, I got to restart. Joe Biden made a big gaffe. If you're a brain, I have this in wrong. Hold on, go back to Steph.
Okay, back to Steph. Hey, Jimmy, what do you think is more realistic? Oh, I want to get back to that question when he can pay attention. That was from Kate Katwas. We are witnessing the results of shifting accountability to community and your neighbor to accountability to distance rich shareholders. P.W. Walker. So this show and the panel seems to be supporting the idea of closing the borders. Could you please discuss the feasibility and measures need to taken? I don't think it's easy. Don Sean Leah, I think it would be easy if we actually allowed our border patrol to do their job and we actually had a border. You know, otherwise we don't really have security in our nation. Back to Jimmy.
I don't know if you saw the video I played in the border patrol chief that resigned, or there's video in there of the border patrol literally taking away the razor wire and allowing illegal immigrants into the country
in front of the border.
In front of the border, right, in broad daylight. I've showed video of them taking forklifts and lifting up the razor wire so they can come in. This is an intentional policy that's happening. So the way you get the way you stop this is you get politicians who actually have a will to seal our border. Dennis Kucinich, there couldn't be a bigger lefty that was ever elected as a Democrat than Dennis Kucinich, and he says the first thing you have to do is seal the border. Well, you can do it in a million different ways. You can send the National Guard there. Now they're sending the National Guard to the subway in New York City. They're not sending the National Guard to the border. It's crazy. They have all these different things that Joe Biden dismantled. They had surveillance that Joe Biden also dismantled. So I'm not an expert on the border, but I know that even Hispanics on the border who live on the American side, who are legal immigrants, say when Trump was president, they had peace. And now they don't. So this is an intentional policy. And that's another reason maybe why his donor class hates Trump. They hate him because he wouldn't do the war policy they wanted. And now he won't do their border policy that they want. So that's two reasons to get rid of Trump for the donors. So I want to show you, and here's Joe Biden. He made a screw up. He used the term illegal, referring to illegal immigrants, which is what they are, but he's going to get in trouble. Let's watch.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by legals?
So killed by legals. That should be the new term for
English.
That should be the new term for legal citizens, like birthing persons, but of citizenship. I'm illegal.
Hey, legals. Well, look at why is only the crazy lady the only one that brought up this thing that everyone should have brought up?
That's right.
Unbelievable.
And he calls her Lincoln Riley. And of course he doesn't apologize. So clearly Biden thinks of illegal immigrants as illegals.
Yeah. That's the first thing.
But you should feel ashamed if you do, especially if your daughter was just killed by a dreamer.
Yeah.
This is like calling the homeless unhoused. Another worthless mile of euphemism on a treadmill to avoid doing anything.
Right.
So we won't call them illegals. We'll call them undocumented.
Because no person is illegal.
So Joe Biden,
if they're a murderer.
Even if they're a murderer, they're not illegal. He apologized. So he's going to apologize for calling the murderer an illegal. Has he yet apologized or said anything about the person murdered? Let's listen.
Notice the look of surprise on your face when you walked into the chamber and you saw Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was priceless. You feigned shock at seeing her. But during your response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Lincoln Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is great.
Illegal immigrants built our country, according to Joe Biden.
Our slaves were illegal when we brought them?
I thought they were legal. Slaves, actually, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of African Americans who would have a bone to pick with you by saying that illegal. It was slaves. They built the White House. So he apologizes for that.
That guy interviewing him, that's the guy that broke down in tears just mentioning January 6th.
That's right.
He's perfectly calm here talking about a girl that got murdered.
That's right.
And worried about semantics.
And worrying about the semantics.
And actually polling shows at least 5% of people who support Trump are doing it to make Jonathan Capehart cry again.
Yeah.
So now I just want to show you how the Democrats used to talk about this issue not so long ago. Here's Chuck Schumer. And this is like from 5 minutes ago. This is how they used to talk about illegal. I mean, listen to the case he actually is going to do. He's going to address why you shouldn't call them undocumented. Listen to this.
American people are fundamentally pro-legal immigration and anti-illegal immigration.
What I said.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. Until the American people are convinced that we will stop future flows of illegal immigration, we will make no progress on dealing with the millions of illegal immigrants who are here now and on rationalizing our system of legal immigration. It's plain and simple and unavoidable. When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration.
So what Chuck Schumer is telling you in no uncertain terms, what the previous Chuck Schumer is telling you about the current Chuck Schumer is that they're not serious about stopping illegal immigration. He just told you they're not. He is describing his current self. That's the past Joe. That's the ghost of past Chuck Schumer describing the future Chuck Schumer. He just did it. Let me play it for you again.
A message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration, which the American people overwhelmingly oppose. If you don't think it's illegal, you're not going to say it. I think it is illegal and wrong, and we have to change it.
No, you should.
So if you don't call it illegal, you're not going to change it. They don't call it illegal anymore. Here's Nancy Pelosi being asked about Joe Biden referring to the illegal immigrant as an illegal immigrant.
Said undocumented, but that's not a big thing. Okay, what's the big thing about it?
No, I actually wasn't even.
It's only a big thing if a Republican does it. It's not a big thing if when we do it. It's not a big thing. Okay, so when somebody else does it, it's horrible. It makes them a racist and a white supremacist and an enemy of democracy. And you should fear them as your neighbor. And they should be criminalized and locked up and taken away their right to vote. But when we do it, it's not a big deal.
Now,
go ahead.
Joe Biden is now facilitating the mass murder of over 30,000 brown people, 2/3 of whom are women and children. And his base is far more upset with him about a semantical misstep at the State of the Union, referring to undocumented immigrant as an illegal than they are about that.
Thank God he
that's what you can see running through all of this. This is why those of us, we consider ourselves as being on the left. So why is the rhetoric that you hear from the past about social justice and ideas of equality so inspiring? You listen to speeches from the Kennedys, from Malcolm X, from MLK, they're so inspiring. And you listen to these people invoking what are supposed to be ideas in that same ballpark. And it just makes you cringe. It makes you want to vomit because it's so clearly just weaponizing those ideas. It's weaponizing the ghost of the principles of democracy and fairness and equality and anti-racism. They don't actually mean any of it. The idea that they would allow millions of illegal immigrants to come into the country And they can't do anything about it with the world's largest military by many orders of magnitude, that they can't seal the border. And the idea that these people that are allowing a genocide in Gaza really care so much about these brown people to the south of us that they just really want to bring them in out of the goodness of their hearts is absolutely absurd on the face of it. They are doing it to create chaos in the labor market, to suppress wages, and they are weaponizing what should be principled ideas in order to shut down debate and define anybody who points out that obvious reality as a bigot and a right-winger.
So standard stuff.
Standard stuff.
Yeah.
SOP.
And
well, like, I personally just got into the habit of saying undocumented, and so I still say that out of habit. Just, like I still say gay instead of LGBTQIA+. I just got in the habit of saying that over the years. So, I still use the word undocumented just kind of out of habit. But it is a bad look. You look very unserious when your party gets into a food fight over what word you used to describe the illegal immigrant at the State of the Union. You look like you're more concerned with offending the sensibilities of liberal activists than you do about what's going on at the border. That's how that plays to the average person.
Because they are.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they are.
Hey, don't misgender a mass shooter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Fiery but peaceful.
So what you saw Chuck Schumer do was tell you that the Democrats are doing this on purpose. That what Joe Biden didn't say when Marjorie Taylor Greene heckled him at the State of the Union was that, yeah, it's my policy that made sure that person was here. He didn't say that. So basically what they're doing is making illegal immigration legal.
Yeah, right.
They need the immigrants here because they need the chaos. Every moment we are worrying about that. We are not looking at who is causing all of it. It's like Chris Christie hang out in New Jersey simply because then no one can tell exactly where the fart smell's coming from.
Poor New Jersey.
With that legal thing he said, I can't believe that hasn't been... Okay, well, how many do legals murder? Okay, just so I understand what you're saying. First of all, there should be no crime, obviously. Preferably no crime. But there should only be crime from legals.
From legals.
What do you like? So your solution is, well, we can't add a few more crimes from people who don't even live here? What's the big deal? What are you talking about?
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's literally what he's saying. He's like, what about all the legal crimes?
He looks better than ever, De Niro and Bill Maher. Great job.
Right. Again, I can't emphasize enough. Don't demonize the people, the immigrants, because they are being incentivized to come here. They're being given plane tickets. The Border Patrol is walking them over and holding their hand. There are cartels that are promising them to get them here to give them high-paying jobs. That's all happening. We are sanctioning their countries' economies, creating desperate people that want to leave their own country to come here. We're creating this. This is, and it looks more and more every day like this is some kind of WEF plot by the handful of billionaire class that runs the entire Western economy, because they're not only doing this in the United States, they're doing this in Germany, they're doing this in Ireland, France. They're doing this all over the place, flooding it with immigrants from countries that they just either bombed or sanctioned. And they're and it's some people say it's to dilute their culture, so then they're easier to divide. And
that's the least of the problem. I mean, they're cute. That story Russell just told about New Orleans. So the government human traffics illegal immigrants.
That's right.
What they do. It doesn't have to be sexual. They traffic. That's what they say about like these Eastern European girls are like, oh, you're going to make all this money and then you have to give them your passport.
The government.
And then that's what our country does that.
Yes. That's quite a story that Russell told. That is quite a story about how the government advertises, hey, come to the United States, we'll give you a $16 an hour job.
And it's not that. What are you going to do? You're illegal.
Yeah, and then when they get here, it's not that. And so they've suppressed the wages of the American worker, and that's an upward transfer of wealth. That's what that is. That's what COVID was. COVID was the largest upward transfer of wealth in human history. And Bernie Sanders and the squad all voted for it. That's how corrupt your government is. There is no lefty party in America. There are no leftists in government at the national level in America. They all serve the billionaire class. And they're the ones that want chaos, and they want this country wrecked. And the only thing that's going to change it is some kind of uprising by workers, farmers, truckers to shut capitalism down and hurt them. And make them afraid of you. You know, Chris Hedges tells that famous story about the protesters at the White House and Nixon turning to Kissinger and saying, Henry, I'm afraid if they break through the gates, they'll come for us. And Chris, that's exactly where we want them to be.
They had habeas corpus then.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll just take it one step further. Not only do I not demonize the immigrants, I actually commend immigrants who try to do the right thing for their family. I mean, if you were living in one of these countries and it had been run into the ground and cooed and cartels were running it and you had kids, you do whatever you had to do to give them the best life they could. I have a friend whose family cut through the fence. They opened a restaurant, they paid their way back into the system, and they are here now. So, no, you can't blame them. They have no power. It makes no sense to blame people with no power.
What I always tell people is, well, first of all, I echo that point. I said, hey, if I lived in Venezuela and they were sanctioning me, or if I lived in a country that America was bombing, I'd want to move to America, and I would break every law that I could to get in there and take my family in with me.
I'd tell fentanyl. Exactly.
And what I tell people is that if you find yourself being angry at someone lower on the economic ladder than you, pretty good chance you're being manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder than you.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, over to Steph.
All right. So, what did you ask? Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Let's do one more fun one.
All right.
Let's do a fun story. Can you guys want to do a fun story?
Yes. Hey, Dave says Biden painted himself into a corner with the term illegal. He thought that he was going to win over moderates and Trumpers by using the term illegal. Puddinhead Joe is truly Jimmy Carter. Dave, thank you, Dave. JD is right. Unhoused is a sanitized language to virtue signal instead of taking action. Piss off with justifications of using it. Seaweed. Unhoused is the term for most severe level of homelessness. Many homeless are not unhoused. They couch surf, etc. Homeless means no legal domicile. Steph 21. Name a single decent country with closed borders. I'll wait. Gentlemen, anybody?
Wait, what?
Name a single decent country with closed borders.
How about controlled? How about they know who's coming in? All the good ones, they know who's coming in.
Poland?
You don't have to seal it.
How about Germany?
Germany doesn't have a sealed border.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to, look, right now it's emergency, you got to seal it. But normally, just keep track of who's coming in and don't let it get bum rushed and secretly fly them in. By the way, this is not a decent country. And they're letting them in.
So that insinuation is that if you have a controlled immigration in your country, you don't have a decent country? That's got to be the most jackassy thing I've heard in a while.
Nobody's sneaking into Russia to ride their great train because they know there won't be the freedom to bring up Navalny.
The border business.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of confusion. I think when some people hear closed border, they mean no new immigrants at all. Right. Whereas I think when a lot of people say closed border, they mean secure border, so you can only have legal immigrants pass through.
There's only two positions.
Some people
Japan is pretty famously not open to bringing in immigrants.
That's right. And I'll bet whoever wrote that is real into anime.
Yeah.
Hey, Seaweed says the border business is win-win because you get to suppress wages and you get to attack the countries being sanctioned by siphoning off their people capable of completing this process. Seaweed. Unvaccinated guy is back. I wish Steph could make a special show on him and all his rants on Rumble Scapazzi. A bit off topic, I know, but I wanted to make known that everything here and now is possible because of the sun. Even our eyes can't see without light. Be a light like Jimmy. Look at you, Rum Tech. Jimmy Barbecue Chezier has the nickname Barbecue because his mom sold barbecue. Stoop sign.
Yeah, we learned that from Dan Cohen.
Samuel, this dehumanization of migrants will be pushed for more war on their countries, and all the fascist measures taken against them will then be turned on you. Just stoking flames. Samuel. Hey, Jimmy. Oh, let's see what this one said. Tropical Rocket, this is now how capitalism works. This is how a phony interest-bearing government-mandated currency works. Hey, Jimmy, what do you think? Oh, I've got to get back to that when he's focused. Okay, Kit Kat was. Ralph Nader described Washington, D.C. as corporate occupied territory. PM Walker. All right, Tropical Rocket just read that. Al Jazeera also made an amazing two-part documentary based on undercover investigation on the influence of Israel, lobby in the UK, and in the US. They titled The Lobby and The Lobby-USA. Seker Papa. Jimmy, please look up crony capitalism and corporatism, which is not the same as true free market capitalism.
You know, commies say that about communism.
Of course it is. Yes,
Communism.
Of course it is.
They didn't do the right communism. It turns out it goes both ways.
Yeah.
You knew.
We have a corrupted form of capitalism. Capitalism isn't evil. Corrupted capitalism
What other
is
kind
evil.
of anything is there besides the corrupted kind?
Metal Mama
How'd it get
Sue.
corrupted? It got corrupted because
Right.
people got rich enough to buy the government. How'd they get rich enough to buy the government? Because they practice good capitalism. It's all capitalism.
Why do you think communism sucked? The authoritarians took all the power and ran communism shit. It's the same goddamn shit.
Tropical Rocket. Just count what percentage of the population own a house. America is in the shit house. Silver purity of the Roman denarius fell from 90% in the 1st century AD to 5% by 300 AD. Then it was replaced by copper coin with a silver wash. Inflation measured in wine was 6,300%. Sound familiar? Prince Eugene! Hey, can you address the Boeing whistler who was suicided in the parking lot when he went to testify about the airplane safety problems? Messianic? Breaking Point's TYT and Democracy Now! Are CNN and MSNBC farm teams. Cornel West is in their bullpen. Luis de la Cruz.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit